Hello friends, Tanya here, and I have another video for Spellbinders in the May 2022 card kits of the month, or kits of the month. I'm going to be using the Amazing Paper Grace 3D Vignette What's Bakin oven. I think that's what it's called. So it does make a 3D oven. We've got the oven back, we've got these utensils and a bar and some oven mitts. We have these adorable gas stove burners and a cookie sheet. We've got the dials for the stove, but you can also use those for cookies. We're going to do that today. We've got this door for the oven that actually opens. You have these perforated marks that makes it so you can open them. We've got our bottom drawer or shelf, and that opens also. I guess some ovens have a broiler down there. We've got oven racks and details for the front of the oven and for the stovetop. There are so many adorable pieces in this APG set, but I'm going to use the Color Block Southwest die to create some beautiful backgrounds, and I'm going to make some cards with some of the elements of this set. This is a die that came out in April, and it creates several pieces that you can color block together to make all kinds of gorgeous backgrounds. I had taken 5 colors that ranged from red to white, several doses of pink in between, and I die cut all of those and separated the piles by shape so that I could just pick the color I wanted for each concentric circle, oval, layer. And I'm using the die to help me figure out which placement I need to start with. I did take some copy paper, and you can see that I have some stuff printed on the back. We won't be seeing that, so it's not a concern. And I created a X on it by drawing a pencil line from corner to corner using my ruler to get the approximate center of the paper. It doesn't matter if it's off just a little bit, not a big deal. It's just to help us have enough space on this piece of paper to put our entire color blocked item. Now this little piece was tricky. I often had to turn it around to get it to fit correctly. You'd think those squares are the same, but they're not. And the second row from the center and the third row from the center are very similar in appearance, but one of them has a smaller little square on it. So you have to be a little careful when you're sorting those out. I'm just dry fitting these. Well, some of them I dry fit, some of them I just went for it and put the glue on and then tried to fit them in. Just had to be careful that I didn't put the glue down to the copy paper until I knew I had the right orientation. I did do this for all of these pieces, and partway through I found that when I got to this row I could lay down some glue and then just put my pieces in to the puzzle, so to speak, and that worked just as well. I have this beautiful radiating look here, and I've seen people use the same method but change the order of the colors on each quarter of the card. That looks pretty cool. I've seen this done in just one color and pieced back together. I've seen people do it in white and then ink blend the different layers so they don't have to cut so many different pieces. I want to try just embossing that. I think that will be one of my next things to try, to just emboss this instead of cutting it, to create that background. I did get a little extra glue on my cardstock, so I'm erasing it with a simple eraser. And here are all 5 of those backgrounds that I created. I just took the different colors and made sure I didn't have the same colors touching each other. Next, we're going to assemble some of these itty bitty pieces from the APG kit of the month for May 2022. We've got our cookie sheet, and remember I said those dials could actually work for cookies, and here we have our little cookies on our cookie sheet. And this is the gas burner. We've got a solid background and then a detailed piece that you adhere to the top. I had cut out the background piece in a dark gray and the top part with some silver foil cardstock left over from a previous card kit. And I don't know, did you know that the mirror card is available in the shop at Spellbinders? I'll have that linked in the description box. I took the stovetop piece from the APG set and I die cut that, and I didn't trim off the extra pieces. I decided to leave those flaps in place to add a little dimension on our card when we complete that. I'm lining up our 4 burners on the stovetop, trying to center these as best I can. I'm using my grid mat to help me line them up, and then once I have 2 of them on, I'm using the 2 that are adhered to help me keep the other 2 lined up also. I think that is a really cute little stovetop. Next, we're going to take some of these sentiment labels. These also came out on April 14th to help create this sentiment banner. I did die cut a silver piece from the whole background bracket. And then I die cut the Hello Cookie from some kind of that melony pink color and used the smaller internal rectangle. And then I used the larger and the smaller together to cut out a dark gray outline frame and trimmed off the bracket fastener spots and adhered that to the silver bracket base. Now we're going to adhere our Hello Cookie right in that opening, so it's an inlay, and you can see the shiny letters through that die cut. I think that is so adorable. Now I needed something to add a little separation, so we're going to add a Fluted Classics rectangle in the smallest of the detail piece and the cutout part. And I die cut that with some vellum. I love the fluted detail on that. We're going to take this piece and adhere it to an A2 sized card base in thick cardstock, in heavyweight white cardstock. Just going to adhere that directly to the card front, making sure that it's nicely lined up. Going to use my heavyweight clear acrylic block to add a little pressure to that and let that adhere really well. And then we're going to, since I can see through that acrylic block, I'm going to use that to help me line up where I want these items on the vellum before we adhere it. I did add some coaster blank for dimension behind the sentiment part and a scrap of cardstock behind the cookie sheet. And we're going to take this little oven mitt, and the thumb is it has a die cut loop or a piece through it so you can stick a utensil in it. And we're going to take this spatula and adhere that to the oven mitt and adhere that to the vellum also. We've got quite a little cute scene here. Going to attach that to the card base, adding glue behind our elements. Then we're going to take a sentiment from the Perfect Pie stamp set. This also came out in April. I'm actually taking 2 sentiments, one for this card and one for the next card. We're going to use our Misty to get these all lined up on our cardstock because I'm going to heat emboss these. And then I'm going to die cut them. So I want to make sure I have enough space between these stamped sentiments before I stamp them. Going to use a little anti-static embossing powder bag here. And now I'm going to ink up our stamps with some clear embossing ink. This happens to be the Juicy Ink on 3 ink. And I am very gently applying pressure because I don't want to squish these very fine detail letters too far into the paper, or we'll have a squished, not very clear sentiment. That's very important when you're using a very small type. I'm using some, honestly, this is some embossing powder from my stash that is probably 20 years old, but it's a beautiful sterling silver one. We're going to use that same die set that we used for the Hey Cookie sentiment. We're using that inside small rectangle, and we're doing some partial die cutting so that it cuts these out to fit. This one says, you dessert the best. I thought that fit just perfectly with the cookies. So we're going to add a little bit of cardstock scrap behind the sentiment to add just a little bit of height, and we'll adhere that to the card front, and that is a finished card. Now we're going to move on to the second card, and I found these letters from the die of the month, large die of the month from May 2022, and I took just these letters, the H-O-T, and I die cut those from some mirror cardstock, same as I used for the burners. And we're not going to use the shadow because, of course, the shadow doesn't fit with just those letters. But man, this is a stovetop, and if you have someone in your life who loves to cook, this seems like a fun little tongue-in-cheek card. So I used the "You Are" sentiment from that pie filling set, and I die cut that. Again, I showed you that already. I'm going to adhere that above our stovetop so it says "You are hot." I just thought that was so funny and cute and fun. These are kind of italic, or they slant a little bit, these letters, which is fun. I love that. Adds a little extra sass to our sentiment. Just going to add some Barely Art Precision glue directly to the back of the mirror card. And again, since it's not a porous paper, it doesn't really absorb your glue. It takes a little longer for that to set up. I'm just using that heavyweight block here to add a little pressure and give that a little extra time to set. Next, I'm taking these cute little utensils, making sure that I pop out that little hang it from me hole out and adhering those to the stovetop. Next, I found some gems that matched these colors pretty well, and I'm going to add these to the front of the card. I thought that this one needed just a little extra pizzazz. The other card had the vellum. This one gets the gems. Honestly, I could have put the gems on the other card, and I might go back and do that yet. That is card number 2. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making these cards. Let me know which of these cards you like the best, and if you think this was a good use of that APG die set. If you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed to this channel, please take a moment to do that now. If you are interested in any of the product, it is linked and listed in the description box below, and it really helps me out if you use those affiliate links. Until next time, bye-bye.